Wouldn't it be nice to be able to shut off your mind and stop your thoughts sometimes?
Another video. No one cares what you think. Get a job.
My name's Yazan. I'm going to share with you today a technique that I use to stop my thoughts and clear my head. You ever feel like your thoughts are in control of you instead of the other way around? That's how I felt for a lot of my life. Negative thoughts would start and I had no way of stopping them. They would come at me in anxiety-inducing waves, thought after thought of the worst kind, crippling my self-esteem and sometimes sapping my will to live. These kinds of thoughts would show up when I was feeling vulnerable already, working on a song or making a video. But sometimes I'd be triggered just scrolling through social media and seeing something that made me feel insecure. It starts with just one degrading thought that leads into another, and the next thing I know, I'm spiraling. I've given up on whatever I was in the middle of, and I'm wallowing in the worst kind of insecure feelings. This kind of thought pattern often led me into really dark periods where I felt like I had no control over my mind or my life. Listen to music or reading a book or working out all worked great as a temporary escape from my thoughts, but I didn't want to escape endlessly into external distractions. I wanted to feel like I had control over my own thoughts. Learning to shut down or steer thoughts is just as important as being able to stimulate them if you want to feel like you have control over your own mind. So I'm going to share with you how I am able to consistently break free of negative thought patterns. I've also learned how to transform my negative thoughts into more constructive ones, but I'm going to save that discussion for a future video. The important thing I've discovered is that at any given moment, you can only be in one of two states of consciousness. You can be in a thought-driven mental mode of consciousness where your thoughts are the primary objects of your attention, or you can be in a physical, sensory-driven mode of consciousness where you're paying your attention to what you're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and feeling. And that's it. At any given moment, you're only really in one of those two modes. If you're busy thinking, you're paying less attention to your sensory experience, but if you focus on your senses, your mind has no bandwidth for thoughts. We can quickly switch back and forth between these two modes of consciousness, giving us the illusion that we're both thinking and feeling at the same time. But at any given moment, you're really fully in one or the other. So to escape thinking, I focus on what I'm feeling, my breath in particular. The discovery came to me a few years ago when I was learning to meditate, and every time I was instructed to still my mind or clear my thoughts, I found that just thinking, I want to clear my mind, wasn't actually helping stop the thoughts, but was just creating more frustrating thoughts. I could also become aware of what I was thinking and think new thoughts about those first thoughts, but none of that was helping stop the thoughts altogether. It was only after I was able to focus fully on the sensation of my own breathing for a few moments that I'd realized I'd gone without thinking at all. Breathing is such a mundane and familiar sensation. It's something we do from birth until death. But if I focused my sensation fully on the rise and fall of my chest and belly, on the gust of air at the back of my throat, on the cool breeze of my mustache, my thoughts would disappear completely. When I was first learning this technique, a thought would pretty immediately interrupt my focus and take my attention away from my sensory experience. But I would simply let go of that thought and return my attention to my breathing, and eventually I was able to stay focused on my breath and keep my head clear for longer and longer periods of time. It's kind of like weightlifting, except instead of being able to lift heavier and heavier weights, you're being able to stay focused for longer and longer periods of time as you continue this practice. So when your mind is trying to hijack you with negative thoughts, it is a good idea to take a deep breath. But don't just breathe unconsciously. Focus your entire attention on the sensation of breath, no matter how loud your thoughts are screaming at you, and you'll be able to keep your mind clear for as long as you can focus on your physicality. Eventually, I realized that I was actually already familiar with the state of mind, but in another context. Playing music, being fully in the moment, whether jamming with friends or on stage, would provide me with a similar thoughtless, timeless experience. I'd be focused fully on the sounds I was making and the sounds my bandmates were making. The feeling of my fingers on strings or the tension in my throat. I'm sure there's some smells too. So really, any immersive sensory experience can help you clear your thoughts and regain control of your mind. Your breath is just the most accessible because you always have it with you, and each breath you take is different from any other breath you've ever taken before. The sense of self-control and personal agency that this technique has given me has been wonderful for my own self-esteem, for my own personal development and growth. So practicing an instrument or meditation or physical movement are all great ways to train your mind to focus on your sensory experience and help clear your thoughts at will, maintain a clear mind, and break negative thought patterns as they come. I hope you found this useful. The technique has been really useful for me. If you have any thoughts about it, I would love to hear your comments. Subscribe for more videos. And if you want even more from me and want to see higher quality videos, join my Patreon. You can join for as little as $1 a month. That would go a long way to help me out. And I really appreciate your support and your attention. Thank you for watching, and happy breathing.